This week on Tech Talk Tonight, we talk cameras, we talk Google privacy policy, and you know those tiny computers that are tracking you everywhere? Those are only $35 and you can buy one at the corner store. All that and more coming up next.
This is Tech Talk Tonight, episode 51, recorded March 1st, 2012. Lytro, my fire. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Tech Talk Tonight, our podcast that we talk about technology and the small town worlds that we live in. This is episode number 51. My name is Braden Henze. You can follow me at Braden H on Twitter or find me on G+, which is, you can just search for Braden Henze. And I'm joined as always.
Before introducing me, Braden. Thanks for that.
I'm waiting. I'm not even sure if I'm going to introduce you now. This is just a guy. He randomly shows up on Skype.
I'm Pudding Man. You all should go out and eat chocolate pudding. It's very tasty. My name's Gavin Rehkemper.
Hang on. You're eating pudding when you just told everybody that you're going to get yogurt? You have lied to us all.
It's basically the same thing, except yogurt is fruity, where pudding is chocolatey.
I feel I can no longer trust you on anything, to be honest. I can't even trust you enough to tell us what we're talking about tonight, so I'm just going to take over the show right now and talk about things like Myers-Briggs test or whatever. Wait, was that what it's called? I think that's what it was called. I had to take a test that told me about my personality, and I've been told that I'm a complete introvert and that I have no notions to be out there or outgoing at all. So I'm going to be completely introverted now.
That's because when you answered the question, do you sit at home and do a podcast in your basement, you clicked yes. And then because of that, they said you're an introvert.
But see, the thing with the test is they ask you the same question, just worded differently about 10 times.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've taken a million of those. Don't worry.
What did they say about you?
Okay, don't even get me started about that. Those tests are BS because you can totally game them. Like, in the back of your mind, you're, thinking, oh, what does this question mean? And it's not like they're, really tough. It's questions like, I like to go out and party. Obviously, if you say yes, that means you're an extrovert. Obviously, if you say no, it's an introvert.
But you're supposed to answer them truthfully. That's the whole thing.
That's the false thing. There's no way anyone can, so objectively answer those. In the back of your mind, you are slanting that test every time.
All right, there we go. Our resident
technology.
curmudgeon has spoken, everyone.
Hey, I might not know psychology, but I do know tech. Speaking of tech,
what's going on in the tech world tonight, Gavin?
Well, today was the first day of the new Google privacy policy, which you've probably been annoyed with 50 bajillion times.
Yes, I have. And they updated all of them, right? YouTube has been updated, the Google search policy's been updated. What else ones have I seen? Google Documents, I think, even has something put on.
Over 200 Google properties have now all their privacy, all the user data is now able to be consolidated into one central Google account.
And people don't seem too happy about this. I think there are people that actually want to sue Google now because of this. Is that correct?
I've heard of that. I mean, Google, I personally thought that they were doing this forever. Apparently, I don't read the privacy policies, but basically now YouTube knows your Google searches. Google Search knows your YouTube view history. They know what documents you have open. You know your chat. They know everything about you, and I mean, I think I've professed my, I welcome our new Google overlords. I've done that many times on this podcast, and this is just one more step in that long, drawn-out process.
No, this is really because, the whole privacy change and stuff, that's kind of going along the lines with the new logarithm that they're using on their search that more or less only incorporates G+ among search results and not nearly as much as Twitter and Facebook posts and such. Is this correct?
Well, that's what they call their personal search, and that's what they're prioritizing, but they're not necessarily changing the results. At least for now. For me personally, it's you can click a little button that says "Show me my personal results," and that'll be like a separate thing. But yeah, presumably they're betting on social that in the future social is going to win out social search. Have you actually used the social search, Braden? Have you benefited from that usage?
Is it on by default on my phone?
I don't know.
Now, this is an iPhone, mind you. And so basically, I'm going to say yes, it is, right? And, Yes, I have used the personal search. Almost positive.
I mean,
I haven't searched for anything personal, I guess, is what I'm really trying to say.
like, take an example of what I just did today. I was looking for, like, an auto body shop. And, like,
were you searching for it in the bottom of that pudding bowl there, buddy?
I'm getting to the bottom. It's tasty. Everybody should go out and get some. But, like, the Google searches for businesses often are totally gamed. If you search, like, best auto maintenance guy in St. Louis, Missouri, like, there's going to be the first 3 pages are all SEO'd results based on the fact that Joe's Auto Body paid a search engine guy like $500 to like get their link onto some shady spam sites.
Yeah.
So
okay, I can see
personal
that.
search helps that solution where like if I know that Braden likes this body shop or this auto mechanic or whatever, I'm gonna go there because I trust my friends, and that's what they're betting on. And I think that's a good bet.
I hear you. That's about all I got because, I'm going to keep clicking those +1s on all the equipment that I keep looking at to buy for down here. And, that's probably going to show up in your personal search. And when you search for microphones, you're going to see a Heil PR40, and that's the microphone that I think you should buy.
There you go.
There we go.
That's how your voice is so bassy and soothing. Suave.
And I think almost clipping tonight, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm just going to hold back on my voice here.
So speaking of new gadgets, are you going to buy the Lytro camera?
Well, yeah, I've heard of this camera. I believe we've talked about this camera before, have we not, Gavin?
I know, and this was angering me today. Apparently, Lytro is doing some sort of PR push because I heard from at least 4 separate sources that the Lytro, look at this cool camera. When in actuality, it's been out since forever. I mean, there was rumors of it last summer, and then it came out in a real form at CES. But it was on, my friend Rob is telling me Mossberg covered it, I think, recently in the Wall Street Journal, and it was on an NPR story this morning, so someone sent me the NPR link.
Yep.
So on and so forth. They definitely did their homework in terms of PR, wouldn't you say?
I would definitely say that. And, well, I mean, I haven't seen this thing anywhere out on the market, so I'm assuming they're trying to get out to the market. That's why they're doing this whole PR push. And
well, you can buy it on their site, apparently.
So they're not going to try to sell it in stores?
Hell if I know.
Okay, well, that's what I'm assuming was going to happen. But either way, if they're just trying to sell it on their site, then, we've heard about this. Yes, we've even talked about it here. So why didn't you hear about it here? But we're these people that live in the future because we like technology and we keep reading up what everybody's doing and stuff. Well, the whole general populace heard about it today because it was on all their general media stuff that they normally go to. They're not sitting on the internet looking for stories to talk about on their weird little podcasts that they film in their basements. So I can understand why this happened today. But then again,
it's the plight of the geek, right? There's always
true.
There's always at least one person in this world who's heard about something cool before you did. And we are typically on the front edge, but that doesn't mean that we're always the first people. There's always cooler people. I mean, people who've heard about it before us. It's just a never-ending game of who commented first on YouTube, frankly.
It's probably true. And thank you, Doug, for the new show title, Weird Little Podcast. Yes, we probably, yeah. Anyway, shall we move on? Hang on. Let's explain the Lytro just for the general populace that might see this podcast now. What is the great feature that the Lytro camera can do, Gavin?
Nah, I'm kind of bored of it at this point. Basically, you take a picture and you focus it later, so you don't have to focus anymore. It actually is exciting for photography. Lots of photographers, also known as photographers, if you're a fan of English, um, they aren't too excited about this necessarily because it could change photography forever. Because photography from before was like you take the shot and then that's what you have. You can't really change the focal.
Well, you kind of can
um,
in Photoshop, and I think actually
you
Photoshop
can't. No,
is.
you can't. You can't. If something's out of focus, you cannot put that into focus in Photoshop.
I was thinking the other way around. Actually, if something
Okay,
is
yeah,
in
that way.
focus, you can unfocus it with blurring it somewhat. You
But
can
this,
you
the
can draw
Lytro keeps a
perspective.
very shallow depth of field, while you're able to move that depth of field. If the camera's here and your position's here, you can move that depth of field wherever you want using their specialized software, which only runs on Mac, by the way. So Windows users can't buy this camera yet.
I would say
But
Woot Mac, but then again, I've got this little box sitting behind me, and it's the first parts of the upcoming PC that I'm planning on building. So moving back to the PC side world.
I mean, in other words, I just feel like it's going to be a lot of work. Who wants to like? I mean, I guess real photographers process their photos for hours on end, but a normal person isn't gonna want to like take 30 photos and then just and then have to process them for like 30 hours when they get home.
I think it's going to be another one of those things like, you take all the pictures and then they just sit on your camera card forever. It's just going to be one more process that the general masses are going to, wait around and do sometime in the future and then never actually get to it.
Yeah, that's true. I love the people who don't understand. Well, I guess this is getting less and less, but like back like 4 years ago, people would get a digital camera and they didn't have the concept of you can move those photos to your computer. So they would like have it on their camera and then they would like delete things to make more room and stuff.
Yep. I've been in that boat where I've had to delete things on a card, but that's because of my own fault, and I didn't go and dump everything on my computer. But anyway, besides the point, we've gone off on tangents enough. What is our next story, Gavin?
Well, we've got some Pinterest news. Um, I think we were early on the Pinterest bandwagon, but it's safe
Yeah,
to say that
I
pretty
want
much
to
everyone in the United States knows about Pinterest at this point.
I want to congratulate you, sir. I was all over Google Plus, and you were like, "No, Pinterest, this thing that I've never heard of before, is going to be the next big thing." And you, sir, I tip my hat. I put on a hat so I can tip it to you.
I called it
That you did call it.
on Tech Talk tonight, and that's why we're losing viewers. We just went from 4 till 3.
Ouch.
Anyway, Pinterest one thing this week, just a standard blog post saying that she planned her wedding on Pinterest, which is definitely
Oh, I think that's a
lots
definite
of
user.
women are doing that.
I kind of did. It was more for planning our wedding photos, but I went through Flickr and more or less made a Flickr group, or not a group, but a collection, or favorites, or however you do that on Flickr. And I basically was picking out the poses and stuff that I wanted to do for our wedding photos and stuff that way. And this, like Pinterest, like even makes that even easier to do something like that with. I think. Correct? I'm not.
Yeah, and the other side of that is a post by a lawyer, Allison Chantel, this past week on Business Insider, saying that she read through the Pinterest Terms of Service, which none of us actually read.
Of course not.
And it says some striking things like you agree to the maximum extent permitted by law, the entire risk arising out of your access to, and the use of the site, application, services, and site remains with you. Basically saying that if Pinterest gets sued because of something you posted onto them, something you pinned, as it were, the terms of service reads that you are responsible for all legal fees that Pinterest encounters, and your own legal fees, and the other person's legal fees. So it's kind of a troubling terms of service for a service that like people are just pinning anything from the web.
Yeah, that seems a little scary to be honest, but the way to cover Pinterest's own butt on that, I would think. This seems like a topic for This Week in Law.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see what an actual lawyer, not you and I, the
Well, you're reading
clown
from a
lawyers
lawyer,
here.
correct?
Yeah, but I mean, lawyers tend to. So I don't know if you've ever talked to a lawyer, and I certainly don't want to insult any of those out in our viewership, but lawyers tend to be super ultra conservative with what they do, especially online. Like I know some lawyers who like still have not joined Facebook
Right.
because they're afraid that whatever, like, they're just crazy like that, and that's fine. We need those kinds of people in the world, but sometimes you just need a like an honest, normal person's lawyer view. You know what I'm saying?
I can't think of the guy's name, but there's a lawyer that does the non-billable hour not podcast blog, and I would be interested to see what he has to say about it because he seems to be pretty up on social media. I might have to send it that
I
way.
mean, the last time I heard, which was a really long time ago, so this might not be true, but basically saying that if you have a link, so HTML works with an image tag, and
Wait,
in the source,
HTML?
in the source, you put in like a URL to the image, right?
Yes.
From what I understand, if that source is actually to the other website, if it's like www.bradensblog.com/whatever, but that image tag is on your site, you are not infringing on copyright because they're still hosting the image.
But even though I don't have like any recognition whatsoever that it's coming from another site,
Nah, I don't know. I cannot say this. I'm not a lawyer.
but you
But
still
that's
run
what
the
I heard
risk
one
if you're
time.
doing that. Somebody on since they own that or they're controlling that server or whatever that image is coming from, they can easily change the image but name it the exact same thing, and then
Yeah.
that thing's going to show up on your blog wherever you're using it because this has happened a bunch and people
Yeah.
go and put things like goatsy as
That's
that
the point.
image.
And that's the point. That's You're not committing copyright because they are still in control of it, right?
I guess, but
I don't
why
know. Some
run that
lawyers
risk?
probably their ears are probably bleeding of our analysis of this right now.
I
But
think their ears just
anyway,
ring, but
the
okay.
bottom line is read the terms of service if you can and act accordingly, and consult your personal lawyer if you have access to one.
Yes. Next story. I think I'll chime in with um, the anonymous stories. We've talked about the group Anonymous a little bit on this podcast. Mostly, we skate around it and like hope that they'll never try to like take us down, even though that would actually kind of be cool because we'd be getting somewhat of attention. But anyway, some of the anonymous people are not going to be working on taking us down anytime soon because they've been infiltrated by some police officers, and 25 of them were arrested in South America.
Don't mention it.
Why not mention it?
They can get us from prison.
I don't think they can get us from prison. I would assume it's going to be the other hacktivists out there that are still operational. But, you know, they kind of shot themselves in the foot in the mere fact that the way that their organization is run, they don't actually ask each other like who they are and everything. So it's kind of fairly easy for somebody to infiltrate into this if they're not handing out personal information.
Yeah,
Um,
as long as you're not like an obvious fake.
well, I'm assuming the feds or whoever got a white hat hacker, shall we call him, that was trying to do good, but was still up on the hacking skills out there and infiltrated their group and somehow got the information to kidnap or to not kidnap but arrest these 25 individuals.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Very
So
interesting.
Anonymous has been taken down a peg. Interpol was part of it, and their website was actually attacked right after it happened. And I think their website is back up and running as good as new, but they did try to counterattack, it seems. Anyway, onward and upward. Gavin, what else are we talking about tonight on this lovely show?
I think that's about it, other than the tiny Raspberry computer. What's up with that?
Ooh, the Raspberry computer. Okay, so this is an interesting little gadget that you can't buy right now because it completely sold out as soon as it was available on the market. But essentially, it is
I think your laundry's done.
I believe that buzzer tells me that is a small little computer. I'm assuming from the pictures I've seen about this size. I'm on the camera. Yes. And okay, so tiny little board. I don't even think it comes in a case. You can kind of put it in whatever case you want, but it's a full functioning computer with an HDMI out. Does 1020 by 768 video, I believe, which is standard more or less HDMI. But it runs Linux, and it's a nice little, fairly power centric computer that runs. How many do you want to buy, Gavin? You got a use
How
for
much
a
is it?
tiny little computer? How much is it? I don't know. You tell me.
Let's look it up. Let's all look, shall we?
Cost is £22.
Wow, that's heavy.
Can anybody do that
$35.
conversion?
Rob says Rob's on his calculator. 22 pounds equals $35. Yeah, I'd definitely buy one because, I mean, my friend Rob, who's IMing me, we had a project. We're trying to get a kind of display. We were trying to get a display in our apartment, and this would be a great thing to run on it.
I agree.
You could like write a little custom app to like pull in some weather, pull in some news.
I would say that the app's
Today's
already written out there. I think it'd be kind of cool to have that. What was it called? Swacket. If they did that, that's like a good interface to be able to like display up on things. Swacket's an iPhone app.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that tells
Yeah,
you.
see,
You haven't
I
heard of
was
Swacket?
looking into like Windows applications that would do this type of thing, like display the news and rotate it,
Mm-hmm.
almost like a like PowerPoint presentation, but
Yeah, we
more interactive and customizable. And there's surprisingly not that much stuff out there that does that well.
actually the ones that my place of business currently is just running PowerPoints in slideshows. And first, like they got all these widescreen format monitors and put them all around, and all the PowerPoints that they put up there were 4:3 formatted. So it was all completely stretched out. They finally eventually got wise because somebody told them what was going on, and yeah. But
I mean, someone should write a good piece of software that does this. I feel like there's universities, hospitals, public locations across the world who don't have a good solution that I mean, there are a few crappy solutions like this little piece of software that some kid wrote in their basement, but there's not a high quality piece of software that's good for presentations in like in building updatable presentations.
how would it work any different than PowerPoint, really, though? You're wanting like data like weather, though. That's
I
what
want
you're
like
wanting.
yeah, like updated weather, like the latest stock tips, and even while like the slides are sliding through, I want like the tweets to be rolling in, you know? Like
Well, there are some websites that do that. Like I was at a conference that they had one of the basically it was taking the feed from Twitter, any pound what was it? Flash camp.
yeah,
All
you
those
can build
tweets
a
were coming up.
website, but that doesn't scroll through shit.
Yeah,
That's
it
not like a
did.
presentation.
It was kind of like a presentation.
I don't. Well,
They were actually coming up
you show
real
it to me.
cool. I don't remember the site anymore. It's in my notes somewhere. I'll look up my notes and we'll put it somewhere. I'll come up with it next time if you remind me.
I'm telling you, I've scoured the net. There's not a good solution.
There is a good solution for tweets, at least. That was just for, you know,
No, see, that's not my requirements because I want like be able to put like almost like gadgets on a slide, and that they'll auto update, and then you can also slide the slides to like slide two, which is another different thing of gadgets
you
that
know
are auto updating.
what you're kind of describing is the Metro interface for Windows 8.
Yeah, I know there are things like this. I mean, hell, I'm sure, like you said, I'm sure there's a great iPhone app, but I'm talking about a desktop app that will do this for a presentation that will work on a long-term thing, you know, like I don't know.
Underpowered, or doesn't have to have all the features for building a PowerPoint like or the PowerPoint it does. Um, Basically, I would just want it to take in a full image and like make those images in Photoshop, to be honest. But I don't know. Yes, I agree. Somebody should build that app. I know somebody that makes apps, like remembertheumbrella.com.
Yeah, everybody should go out to remembertheumbrella.com if you're trying to find me. I guess we're wrapping this show up. Find me on gavinar.com. The newly renovated smells like fresh paint over there. gavinar.com. Go check it out.
What was that ding?
This is my iPhone. I'm too popular.
I disagree. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I've been Braden Henze at Braden H on Twitter, and also follow Tech Talk Tonight on Twitter at techtalktonight.com. You can find us on our Reddit. I'm not there right now because of Lent. Kind of gave it up. But Gavin's keeping it updated, I'm sure. Right, Gavin?
No, our last post was 22 days ago.
Awesome. Anyway, you can find our Reddit at reddit.com/r/techtalktonight. And what else? The IRC chat room's going all the time. That's all I got, I guess. Join Tech Talk Tonight on G+. We now have a page for it.
And check out our wiki coming soon.
Yes, our wiki that Gavin has put on my punch list to do as soon as I get some better server hosting, I guess. Anyway, thank you all. Good night. Good luck. See you next Wednesday.